Saxon's Calculus, Lesson 92, is about integration of even powers of sine x and cosine x. So in an earlier lesson, we did the odd, where we needed to split them up, and now we're talking about the even ones. So to do these, we need to remember that sine squared x equals a half minus a half cosine of 2x, and the cosine squared x equals a half plus a half cosine of 2x. So then in example 1, where it says to integrate the cosine squared of x dx, we are going to use this substitution and then basically integrate these two. So when we integrate this half, we end up with a half of an x plus, and when we integrate this half with the 2x part, we are getting that to another half, so that becomes the fourth, and then cosine has gone to sine of 2x plus the c. And part of is the derivative of this 2 that you have to undo, which is the other reason what. I'm not saying this very well. Okay, let me start over with this piece of it and make sure I'm saying it clearly enough. The half is obviously here. The cosine goes to the sine of 2x, and when you do the 2, you create a 2 that doesn't exist in the original. So to remove that 2, you flip it to its half form, and a half times this half here is the fourth. Okay, now that I've done that, example 2. Ask you to integrate sine squared x and cosine squared x dx. So we're going to deal with substituting for the sine squared and the cosine squared, which is going to be our half minus our half cosine of 2x being multiplied with our half plus our half cosine of 2x from the two identities provided at the beginning. And then when I multiply those together, I see that these are opposite signs, so the middle terms are going to cross off, so I don't need to worry about that. A half times a half is a fourth, ignoring the middle parts. A half, negative a half times positive a half is negative 1/4, and then our cosine of 2x has gone to cosine squared of 2x. Then we are going to integrate, so that gives us just a second to make sure I think my way through this correctly. I can't do the integration when I still have this cosine squared, so I need to substitute again with this part. So we've got, I'm running out of space here, a fourth minus the fourth, now multiplying with this half plus a half cosine of 2x again. So that keeps our fourth minus an eighth minus an eighth cosine of 2x when I've distributed. That still has the dx at the end, and we're still trying to integrate that. Okay, so now we've got a fourth and an eighth that can go together, and that's going to be common denominator of 8, 2. So 1/8, yeah, I might cram it here, 1/8 minus the 1/8, and then that cosine of 2x. All right, so when I integrate, okay, I've caught that I have an error here. When I did this substitution, I treated this as if it said cosine squared x and did the straight up substitution here. This is not. This is cosine squared of 2x, and I failed to take that into account. So how that changes things is that when you get here to the end with this 2x, you're actually multiplying it with the 2x that's here. So that's actually giving you 4x substituted in here. So then when I distributed, this should have been an eighth cosine 4x. dx. Okay, so this should then be saying also 4x. All right, I feel like I'm a little more on track there. So now let's do the integration, and I'm just going to write it over here since we're out of space. So the 1/8 goes to 1/8 x, or x over 8, minus, and then the 4 has to be gotten rid of, which makes it 1/4 going with the 1/8. So that's 1 over 32. And then cosine has gone to sine of the 4x. Let me check that. X over 8 minus 1 over 32 sine of 4x, and of course our plus c always at the end. Okay, so now that was example 2. Let's work on example 3. So we are trying to integrate sine to the 4th x dx. Make sure, yeah, okay. So we need to split our sine to the 4th into sine squared x and another sine squared x. And then as we had our substitutions from before, those are going to turn into a half minus a half cosine of 2x twice. Substitution for both of those, and then we need to I'm looking here at the book, and they're also reminding you that that is the same as writing that as squared. So we do need to work that out, however. So a half times a half is a 4th, and then this becomes negative 1/4, doubling, so negative 2/4. So that's going to reduce down to negative 1/2 cosine of 2x. That's the middle term. And the negative times negative is positive. Half times a half is a 4th cosine squared of the 2x, which should also turn it into 4x at that point in time. All right, let me double check that. 1/4. Finding where they stick their stuff sometimes is a little fun. Why? Oh, I'm like, wait a second, that's not even anywhere close because I'm back looking at example 2. Ha ha ha. Okay, now, yes, here's our half, cosine of 2x plus the 1/4 cosine squared. Oh, they didn't make that substitution to 4 until later? Oh, I guess that is true because that is where I'm writing just cosine, cosine, and the 2x. Okay, well, it will substitute to 4, but not quite yet. All right, so now when we're simplifying, integrating, hang on. Yeah, simplifying was correct. In this cosine squared of 2x, we need to substitute again its format, which is a half plus a half cosine, and this is where the squared has become 2x doubled to the 4x. That's where I'm getting, that's when the 4x comes in. All right. So I still need to distribute this 1/4 with these. So we still have our 1/4 minus our 1/2 cosine of 2x plus, and a 4th times a half is an 1/8 cosine, no, wait. This was substituted. It's a 4th times this. Yes, I was right the first time. All right, then plus, and then a 4th times a half is an 1/8 with the cosine of 4x. Now, this 4th and this 1/8 need to go together, common denominator of 8 and 2. So we now have 3/8 minus a half cosine of 2x plus 1/8 cosine of 4x. Now that should be everything simplified. It's minus a half plus, yes. Okay, so now that we've done all of that manipulation, we are finally ready to do the actual integration of these things. So the 3/8 goes to 3/8 x. And then cosine goes to sine of 2x. And again, we get the extra 2, which we don't want, which turns into a half, which multiplies with this half, giving us 1/4. And then we have the plus, and cosine of 4x is going to sine of 4x. The 4 is becoming 1/4 and going with the 1/8, making it 1/32 again. That piece, that piece, that piece. Plus c at the end. Double checking. 3/8, the minus 1/4, 1/32 sine of 4. Yes, okay.